Hi, I'm Lauren Hunt. I'm the Assistant Professor of Horn here at Utah State University. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to prepare for the Utah All-State auditions. The first step to learning any piece of music is to look at it as a whole and figure out the roadmap. In this piece that we're learning, we've got a slower, more lyrical opening, which the material from that returns on the last line. And then the middle section is much faster. It's also different in other ways from the opening. We've got a different key, a different tempo, and we've got a 6/8 time signature. Remember that as you prepare this, you're supposed to work on the A ending, not the B one. That's what you have to do for the All-State audition. So make sure you're preparing the right music. So we're going to work on each section separately, and then at the end of the video, we'll put them together. Right away, looking at the opening section, we notice that one challenge will be rhythm. Here we have eighth notes and triplets in almost every single bar. Remember that if we don't have a 3 marked over the note, they're eighth notes, not triplets, even if we see a beam that links 3 notes, like in the first measure. So the first measure, for example, we would count 1 and 2 and 3 lolly 4. One great way to practice this before you even pick up your horn would be to clap the rhythms with the metronome. Another challenge in this opening and closing sections are all the jumps that we have. The key is to get the sound of the notes in your ear, and that's really going to help you hit them more accurately. So step 1 should be to play the scale that the notes are based around, in this case, the F major scale. That will really help you get those sounds in your ear so you'll play more accurately. Another great tip to work on those jumps is to isolate them. Do just 2 notes at a time or 1 measure at a time. And you can even put the notes in a little bit of a different order to hear how they fit together. For example, you might practice bar 1 like this. As you noticed, I reorganized the pitches from the lowest to the highest, almost like a scale but missing some notes. And this can help you remove those jumps that might be tricky and just play the notes in an order that's easier to play. Later, after you get the sound in your ear, put it back how it's written in the music, and it will be a lot easier to land on those notes correctly. As we take a look at the fast middle section, you'll notice there's a key change here. Now we have 4 flats instead of just 1 that we had in the opening section. You might know your A flat major scale has 4 flats, but actually this section is an F minor. As always, I'll encourage you to play the scale to get the sound of the notes in your ear. If you don't know your minor scales, go ahead and play an A flat major scale starting on F, and you'll get that same sound. That's how you figure out an F minor scale. Another challenge in this middle section is the fast tempo and the rhythms. The best way to practice this is with the metronome, starting really slow. You'll need to set your metronome as slow as it needs to be to do everything perfectly. And I really mean perfectly. Don't go too fast too soon, or your final product will be very sloppy. Instead, start very slow. Make sure you can do everything perfectly, including dynamics, articulations, rhythms, and pitches. And only once you can play it perfectly, move it up maybe 3 beats per minute. Eventually, you will get up to the final tempo of 88. Another challenge in this middle section is to do clean and accurate fingerings, especially when we're playing notes like A flat going to B flat or vice versa. A great practice strategy for notes like this with tricky fingerings at a fast tempo is to isolate. So just play the 2 notes that are giving you trouble on the fingering, so A flat, B flat, and play them really close together, very fast. Once you can do those 2 notes quickly and cleanly, add 1 more note, so you have a total of 3 notes. Then add 1 more note, so you have 4, eventually adding more and more notes that you can play cleanly with the right fingerings. So now that you've worked on each section individually, let's talk about how to put it together. When we're practicing, what's going to be most effective is always to start with small chunks. Even, as I mentioned with the fingering patterns, 2 notes. I would encourage you in this piece to start with chunks of 1 or 2 measures in each section, building up very gradually, putting those chunks together to go to the whole big sections, and then finally the piece as a whole. I'd also strongly encourage you to work with your metronome, everyone's favorite tool. We've got a tempo change in the middle of the piece. Actually, we have 2 of them when we go back to the slow tempo at the end, and that can be really challenging to lock into the right tempo. So I would encourage you to practice each section independently with the metronome, making sure you're at the right tempo that you want to be at, and then only afterwards putting them together. And that will help you make sure that you're always playing at the right tempo in each section. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you got some tips that you can use in your practice.